Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so I titled this feed Black Molasses. Yes. And I'm going to take the time this morning to talk about me. The best subject in the world, right? The most interesting and most stimulating is me. And so I titled this feed Black Molasses Strapped. So I always start my feeds. Good morning, sister. I always start my feed with talking about something to hinge it on so that we could swing through it. But I want to talk about I was watching a movie this morning. I woke up this morning relatively early, and do me a favor. Can you hear me, baby? Type in the chat yes or no, because I'm having some problems with my audio. And when I was younger, I was watching this basically about this young girl coming of age whose life was ravaged, who got a bad head start, who was born behind the eight ball, so to speak, had to run away from home, had a troubled home, and fell into a group of people. And she was quite different from all of the people that she was around. She just wasn't like a heathen like that. And this is how I perceived it, and because she was different, life still handled her roughly, but her approach was different, and so therefore her experience was different, if that makes sense. And I want to talk about this, so it's all going to tie into Black Molasses Strapped, if you just hang on with me, and she she was hanging out with these people, and because, she felt like life had kicked the stuffing out of her, so to speak, she found her way with falling in love and, being hurt and being mistreated and being neglected and being so thirsty and hungry for, love, and the attention that's inherent from it. She did things that she didn't necessarily want to do, and I was looking at this movie, and let me tell her, I was feeling, because I was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Some of the stuff that was going on in this movie, I'm like, not judging her, saying this don't make no sense, any of that, just feeling like, damn, and it's been a long time since I watched the movie, and I was feeling some feelings of that magnitude in that arena, and it got me at the point where I was doing a self-evaluation. So if you with me at this point, and you stayed with me up until this point, I guess you could say that I saw a lot of myself in this young lady's character that was being portrayed in this movie. So I'm sitting there, and much like the refining process that takes place with Black Molasses, right? Because Black Molasses is nothing but sugar cane refined. Sugar comes in many different forms. Of course, there's brown sugar powdered, there's white sugar powdered, and it has its refining process. Then there's the sugar cane, of course, and then there's the honey, and then which has its own process over there. And then there's Black Molasses, right? And it has many health benefits, right? I feel it welling up. If you could see it, you with me, stay with me. And the molasses is one of the refining sugar products that has the most health benefits. If you don't believe me, Google it. So when we're talking about Black Molasses, right, we're talking about not just how it feeds this and falls on the tongue. It's appealing to it's appealing to this right here, which is the physical. But when it goes down oh so smooth, right? It's not like castor oil, and it has health benefits, and both do. And you ask yourself a lot of times, I've asked myself a lot of times, do I want to be rough and ready, right? Or do I want to have the qualities that the black molasses has and like go down smooth, right? And I choose the latter. Right. And over the years, right, during the refining process, like, right, you got it? Because the black molasses is nothing more than a refining process that takes place, and it's a byproduct of sugar, but it goes through a refining process, right? And so I'm sitting here and I'm, over the years, I've gone through this refining process, and I, at one point I didn't want to be in my skin. I didn't want to be in my skin. I didn't feel good about who I was. And so I went to bleaching my skin. Talk about white sugar, right? Trying to be white, sugar, right? And that didn't work, right? Only to find out that, it's not going to work. And so years later, moving on to something else and moving into different crowds and, being sugar, brown sugar, being sugar, but, having lumps and bumps and clumps. And after a while being sat out and set aside, in a damp, moist place only to become hardened, right? And then going to another place and getting to my 40s and finding out that, you might be on to something with just trying to find out who your authentic, genuine self is. Tisha, right? And so some years have gone by and we're talking about relationships and trying to interact and engage in them and trying to be, a part of something, a world that doesn't want me, right? This, some worlds that I'm in, and I'm talking about the work world, some relational worlds and some relationships with intimate relationships with men and, platonic relationships with men and having girlfriends and, being out in the world and socializing and all the stuff that's inherent with it, even with parenting. Like sometimes I'm in a world, right, where I just don't belong. And, I need to say this for the record. And if there's a microphone out there and it needs to be recorded for posterity's sake, like, I don't belong in some worlds that I'm in today. Like, but because I've invested so much of my emotional, so much of my time, so much of me, right? Like, I refuse to, right, leave, right? Leave without another struggle or another surrender. Now, is that right? No. Much like the black molasses, once it's refined and in its final stages, right, and ready to be consumed, right? Because I am one that needs to be consumed, right? Because I am present in my relationships. I was just talking with a friend before I got on here. Like, I am a friend, right? I am present in my relationships. If I am with you, you know that I am in a relationship with you and I care about you and I love you and I respect you. If you got all those things going on from me, you know it because I am present in the relationship. And so when I don't get, there was a time when that was not reciprocated, it was okay. It was okay if you did not reciprocate what I was putting out, right? But today, we talking about black molasses. That be me. Like I have a lot to give. I offer a lot. I show up in my relationships. I'm available. I'm accessible. I'm approachable, right? Right? And when I don't feel like I'm getting the same thing back, right? For the new relationships that I'm encountering, I'm not going to make myself as such. But when you got me, you got me. Right? All the other stuff, you'll get the brown sugar part of me or you'll get the white sugar part of me. Because Even though all those things have been long gone from me, right? They're still in me. And there's still some remnants that you can get, right? Like my current job. They're just getting the white sugar part of me. They're not getting the black molasses part of me, which is the greatest point of refinery that I'm at right now. Because they don't deserve it. Some of my relationships, they got the brown sugar part of me. Right before I'm set aside and put on the shelf to become hardened. They don't have that part of me because they're not worthy of it. And then there's some relationships that I'm in and they know who they are. They know who they are. It's a very few. It's few. They got the black molasses strapped. I stick to them because I love them. Because I respect them. Because there's a need for them in my life and they deserve the very best of me. That makes sense? So today, the little black girl that grew up in the projects, that grew up in the hood, that was kicked around, neglected, abused, set aside, cast off, written off, I could go on and on, is proud to sit here and say that she's black molasses and I'm strapped. What say you? What say you? I'm going to ask that you come on camera. If you would like to do so, you can do so. If you do not want to come on and you decline, I won't be mad. I think I did a good job with black molasses. I feel good in my skin today. And I think I called a girlfriend yesterday and a couple, and I was able to express to them how good I feel. And then, on the heels of going through some nothing. Whereas one time it would have been intense, traumatic, dramatic, and my response would have been otherwise. Some stuff just don't deserve my energy anymore. I didn't know the personal power that I had. I didn't know. I have personal power, and you do too. Who knew? Who knew? Is there anybody out here who wants to talk about black molasses? You can talk about me. Talk about my good qualities. Where I'm at. How I benefit you. Huh? Talk about me. Talking about me. Yeah. Yeah. And it's not ego bragging or conceit if it's the truth. What's the truth about you? What do you bring to your relationships? What do you bring to the table? Is it worthy of even eating? Or is it just something that's just junk food? Today I bring sustenance. I feed the bones. I'm a good source of vitamin and minerals. I bring something to my relationships. I'm a ball of sunshine on a rainy day. That's me. You could get the best of me. ... And that's it. So I'm here at work. About to go in. What about you? Do you need some black molasses in your life? Are you seeking out people who can fortify and sustain you the way that black molasses does? Do you have those people in your life and do you value them as such? Ah, did good this morning. Did good. You know, and in my life, I've experienced some rejections, and this is the first time I'm experiencing a bit of rejection now, and this is my first time being able to say, their loss. Their loss. So bold and so confident. So, I'm getting ready to go in here to work, and I am definitely a different cut. I am definitely a different set apart, set aside like that brown sugar to harden. And over the years, I've hardened, but it hasn't made me coarse. It hasn't made me cold. It hasn't made me mean. It hasn't, a cynic. I still believe in love. I still believe, and what hasn't happened for me, I hold out hope that it will. You guys have a good day. You deserve it, and you definitely deserve it if you are pursuing it.